Hey, hey, hey. What's up, what's up, what's up? Happy National Burrito Day. April Fool's Day. Bunch of other national calendar days today. 7-game slate. The MLB starting off today. You got golf starting off today. The Valero Open. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff kicking off today. NBA continues to rattle on with 7-game slates. Continues to rattle on with loads of injury news already. The entire New Orleans Pelicans, or 3/5 of their starting lineup. Lonzo's been out, but still are going to be out today. Zion was going to be questionable, out with sprained thumb. And Brandon Ingram, they said just screw it. We don't got these guys out there. Let's just rest everybody today. How y'all doing? Let's get through this 7-game slate. I have on the screen right now, purposely, the minutes for New Orleans. That is this column right here. So obviously ask any questions that you normally want to. That is this column right there. The only guy, a couple of guys who don't fit on the screen, that is Wes Iwundu and Wenyen Gabriel, getting decent minutes each. But yeah, it's going to be a slate loaded with the chalk on New Orleans that you're going to probably have to play parts of it, right? Because they're just so cheap. The most expensive guy is Alexander Walker, barely breaking 6K, 35 minutes for me. These are obvious options for you. But if you're coming in, you haven't looked at much of the slate today, that is a reason. No Ingram, Zion, or Lonzo today. These guys are going to be looking very good. So all these guys are yeses, and it just comes down to kind of like yesterday's slate. You know the teams. You know the 1 or 2 teams that are going to provide 3, 4. How many pieces of value you need from these teams, right? You know the teams that are going to provide you with that. Now it's a smaller slate than yesterday, so they're going to be even higher on. I expect right now, until we get some more news, Goran Dragic's out. Kendrick Nunn, I'm out projecting in because of that. So until we get some more news, I expect these main guys here, like Josh Hart, Alexander Walker, Bledsoe, to start to become like 30+% owned, even touch 40% on some of them today. Even touch 40% on some of them today. Ryan says Sal Vetri isn't the GOAT. April Fools. The April Fool's jokes are out and about. There we go. Fellas, my triple play, fellas. This is Mr. Yabba Dabba Yee. Welcome to Sal Vetri's live in person. Flying to flesh. Dalaruskis for the days. My man Chase is on one in the chat right now. Your favorite big from Cleveland today? Yeah, my favorite big from Cleveland is going to be Hartenstein. Keep in mind it's a smaller slate, so the ownership's naturally going to be spread out, but it'll be. I just don't know any other bigs that you're going to go after today there, right? Like Kevin Love will be limited if he plays. Taurean Prince will play in the low to mid-20s if he plays. I just don't know like any other option that you're really going to be looking at from Cleveland. So Hartenstein just kind of like the default answer there. Like Taurean Prince is fine at 3,100 if he can get any type of minutes today. It's just not something that I expect for him to get too many minutes. Hartenstein right now as it ranks is still my number 1 play on the slate. Even with all these New Orleans guys out there, they're top plays but not as good. Do you like Aldridge tonight? Do I like Aldridge tonight? I don't even know if I projected Aldridge. Do I have to project him in? Did we get news that he's making a debut tonight? My answer will be no. Well, actually, with all the guys out, my answer might be actually interesting. Is he making a debut tonight? If so, I'll have to project him in after this. Aldridge available to make Nets debut Thursday. So let me just plug him into this right now. Debut, I would expect Aldridge. There's some guys out there, right? Blake Griffin's out. There's some guys out there. I would expect him to not take the Blake Griffin role, play 18, 20 minutes, or what the Blake Griffin role has been. So, no, my answer will be I don't like Aldridge, but I'll put him in. He'll affect some things out there. I will probably project Aldridge for 18 to 20 minutes. So, I'll have no interest. Please answer this question. On Patreon package, which are the NBA options? For just NBA, do you get something for 50 over the 35? The 50 is just all sports. You get all the optimizers for PGA, MMA, the MLB stuff that we're putting out now for beta projection. So that's just all sports. Outside of that, if you just want NBA, you don't want to touch any other sport, the $35 one will get you the optimizer, and that's all that you need right there. Hopefully that helps you out. My man, John. I cashed my first prize picks to make $200 last night off the late Bulls news and Harrell under. Thanks, Al. There you go. Yeah, Harrell under in the first half was looking great. He came on in the second half, but 6 points in the first half was good. What did you blow the $200 on today? How do I connect the Discord? It never works for me. If you are a Patreon member, you go into the Discord. You go into the sync Discord option. You watch those videos and do all the things that makes you basically do it in there. It shows you in your settings on Patreon where to link your Discord to it. And then once you do that, you can connect it. If you're trying to do it on your phone, you're going to have a hard time. You got to do it more than likely on a desktop. Live yet or YouTube issues? We're live on my end. Never mind. Somebody says, there you go. Fellas, all rise for the most honorable Sultan of Sweat. Dalaruski doesn't smashes again. Put your boy in the money. There we go, Michael. Yeah, so I'll give you the updated Dalaruski doesn't, if you will, as we start to go through some of these. Let's just build out something. Let's put no randomness on. Let's put 3 unique. Let's put 3 uniques and a max from a team. We'll put 4 for now, just to see what some of these cash lineups will start to build out, and then we'll obviously start to add some randomness. So we'll let these build out right now. So you can just see the settings we're using to start it off on the optimize there. You can follow along with us down below if you want to. Hey, Sal just got here. What's going on, 2K Plug? How you doing? Had to fire somebody on April Fool's. She was like, is this a joke? It's like, I wish. Oh, man, the anti-April Fool's joke right there. You hate to see that. You hate to see that. So the top 12 updated plays right to now, as of right to now. And I'll exclude any maybes, so I'll just put yeses. Like James Johnson, Jackson Hayes, Tyler Johnson, like they're all grading out as decent plays, but all below 20 fantasy points. So Isaiah Hartenstein, Kira Lewis Jr., who they love out there, right? Kyra Lewis Jr., they love out there, like probably more than Alexander Walker. Alexander Walker currently will get the production as they get Lewis up to par. But if you're talking real life basketball, they like what Lewis can do. Like they're kind of playing Alexander Walker as a shooting guard right now, a ball dominant shooting guard, if you will. But Lewis is going to be more so the point guard. So Isaiah Hartenstein, Lewis, Bledsoe, Alexander Walker, Hart, Irving, Capella, Bruce Brown, Kennard, Dwight Howard, Kawhi, Sexton. Those are the top 12 plays. And Sexton's, I'm surprised his prize picks as of like a half hour ago still haven't rose from 34. There's some really interesting prize picks today on Detroit's guys, like Josh Jackson and Sadiq Bey. The over-unders on those guys are pretty interesting, especially with Sekou Doumbouya back. Going to take up 6 to 8 minutes in rotation. I'm assuming that Dennis Smith and Wayne Ellington, they're questionable. I'm projecting them in. If they're back, those prize picks seem like they're expecting Ellington and Dennis Smith Jr. to miss, meaning bigger minutes for Bey and Josh Jackson. So there's really good opportunity on the unders over there. Was Cody Zeller's last game an aberration, or is he in play tonight? He's barely in play tonight. I still think less than 20 fantasy points. He's barely in play tonight right now. So this just built out some lineups. So this is if you don't put anything in, you're going to have some, obviously with all the value, some really high projected lineups. So this is like what some of the top cash lineups are going to start to project out for, right? So what you're seeing on the screen, it's going to be chalky because we are not adding randomness. We're not adding groups yet. It's going to be chalky. Just to get an idea of what lineup construction will look like for people who don't know how to get away from chalk, or if you're playing cash. So obviously this one makes a lot of sense. You're seeing your New Orleans guys. It's giving you 4 of them. They all make sense. It's giving you Hartenstein, Kawhi, Sexton, Irving. These are all the top plays, and then it's just throwing in minimum price James Johnson to make it all work out. That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, I'm actually curious to seeing what James Johnson will be owned tonight as, because James Johnson is going to be a very easy fade if he comes in like 50+% owned. If it's in the 30s, it's okay for a minimum price guy who will play a lot of power forward tonight just because Zion and Ingram are out. There's just so many power forward minutes to fill there. But you can start to see the lineups that are getting built. Keldon Johnson's actually interesting. Without any random sum, we get Keldon Johnson into this lineup, and Keldon Johnson will naturally make you different. So that's an interesting one because I expect Keldon Johnson to be, definitely single-digit owned, probably 5% owned or less. So that's an interesting one. Capella today, I expect to pick up ownership, but you get a little bit different here naturally. Kira Lewis is actually going to be a nice play either way today. Like there's going to be ownership on Lewis today, Lewis Jr. from New Orleans, but you get the shooting guard eligibility, and Lewis Jr. is not going to be, so the reason I say this, you see right here, not going to be anywhere near as owned as Eric Bledsoe or Alexander Walker, just because, if you see the minutes, those guys are going to project out for bigger minutes, and also just name-wise for people who aren't as familiar with Lewis. Lewis is the guy they want to be point guard, right? Bledsoe today is going to play a good amount of point guard, but they want Lewis to be the point guard, the guy that they give a lot more minutes to, over Alexander Walker. That's their goal for real-life basketball. We'll see how it translates and how involved he can be in some other areas. But if you're just saying for the price point and like security factoring in ownership, like Lewis might be 20%, 30%, and not 30%, but 20% less owned than some of these other guys, and there's some upside there. Is there any reason to be concerned about Hartenstein? Haven't gotten a chance to see him play. Just the minutes, right? Like I'll pull up right now Houston's minutes. So the only reason to really get concerned, or not Houston's minutes, former team, would be Houston. Pulling up Cleveland's minutes. The only reason to get concerned would be just the minutes, right? Like, can a guy like that play 30 minutes? Yeah. Will he tonight? I have him at 24. So, that's the problem. Obviously, always foul trouble is an issue, but there's no Embiid on the other side. So, Dwight Howard, is he going to bring fouls out of you all that much? Probably not. So, you have Kevin Love questionable. You have Taurean Prince questionable. So, they just have so many guys down right now. Like, there's not much left here. Like, Lamar Stevens is going to have to start to play a lot of power forward for this team. Shout out Penn State. They just don't have any other traditional centers. If Kevin Love doesn't play, he plays center sometimes, right? Lately, not a lot as often. They have nobody else at center. Like, nobody else in this team can traditionally play center. They can go to small ball if they want, but Philadelphia probably not going to make you play small ball all that much, right? With Dwight Howard out there, them filling 48 minutes with rather decent-sized bigs. So the concern would be some sort of foul trouble. He only plays 18 to 20 minutes. But this is a good producer. Dating back to when he was with Houston, whenever he got any type of run, which was rare over there when Capella was still on the team. And then you can go back to Denver rare that he got any type of decent run with Jokic on the team. So he's never been a guy that gets much run. But from a fantasy perspective, yeah, he's pretty good. He's not to the extent of like Nerlens Noel backing up Steven Adams in the past, but he's your stereotypical, he's a cheap center who gets really good production, backup center. Now he's getting his additional run. How many minutes do you think, is it Kira or Kyra? I'm just going to say Kyra Lewis will play. I don't watch New Orleans Pelicans games, so I have no idea what the announcers be saying out there. But I think Lewis is going to play 26 minutes is my projection, and that might be low. That might be low on 26 minutes because I'm giving Wes Iwundu 22 minutes. If Wes Iwundu only plays 18, 20 minutes, most of those minutes are going to go right back to Lewis. I'm also giving big minutes, 35 to Bledsoe, Hart, and Alexander Walker. One of those guys plays 33. It's probably because Lewis is getting more, specifically Bledsoe. If Bledsoe plays 33, it's probably because Mr. Lewis is getting a little bit more. He's trying to get funky. Just upgrade to the Big Energy Optimizer. Should I be using any player groups for tonight? Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. We love to hear that. Yeah, I mean, player groups every single night are only going to make your lineups better. So it's just a matter of how much do you want to put into it? How much time do you have on your hands? Every single night, player groups are going to make your lineups better. It depends on what the player groups you want to be putting in place are. Is it New Orleans guys, right? Do you want to have a lineup that has Bledsoe, Alexander Walker, and Lewis all in the same lineup together? I mean, tonight it's not terrible because it's a 7-game slate and they're really cheap, so it's not like a price restriction thing. But you can go ahead and you can put that lineup in here if you're trying to not get those guys all together. If you wanted to go down a little bit more today, and well, this is one you're probably going to want to put in, right? So these guys might pop up. I doubt they pop up in a lineup, like a top projected lineup together. But if you're building 150s, or doubt 20 max, but 150s, like Steven Adams and Jackson Hayes. So here's like the power of the optimizer, right? Control your lineups more. Obviously, the whole point of optimizer is to build 150 lineups for you because you don't want to be doing that by hand. You can't do that by hand. You can't track your exposures. And if you are, you're spending 3 hours of your day, 4 hours of your day doing that. And that sounds pretty terrible, especially to update for news. You're screwed right there. So I want at most one of these guys in the same lineup. That makes a lot of sense to you, right? But the optimizer doesn't know that. So you have to make sure you have these rules in place. So Steven Adams and Jackson Hayes, you're never going to want to play them together. They take away from each other, even if Jackson Hayes is dirt cheap. They're probably not going to get into a lot of top projected lineups, but they might get into my 139th lineup together, right? My 140th lineup, and then that's kind of like a dead lineup right away. So those are the types of groups you automatically want to be putting in, centers and things like that. But then you can also start to play around with some other guys on the same team. On a 7-game slate, do you want a Westbrook and a Beal together? I'm personally okay with it. Right? They have enough upside together. Beal's at a nice price point. I'm personally okay with that. Some people might not want that. Do you want Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler together? I can probably steer away from that. So these are some rules you can start to put in place. But normally your rules aren't going to be these types of guys. So we can put at most one of these guys. Normally your rules will be around centers and or like value players. How much of the value do you really want to get together in lineups together? So like a James Johnson type of a player. You can put like Luke Kennard in a group with James Johnson and like 2 other values. Bruce Brown, Jackson Hayes, and say at most give me 2 of these guys, right? So we can do that one right now. So like some of the value options popping off tonight, you can either do 3K range or whatever you really want to do. So James Johnson's 3K flat. Luke Kennard's going to pop off as a pretty decent value. And then let's just put Jackson Hayes into this one. So you can say at most give me 2 of them. So at most I only want 2 of them in a lineup together, and you can go from there. Maybe you want 3, you can put 3, right? So now, since we have some groups in, that's just a couple, we can actually start to build some lineups. So let's set this to 3 guys from a team, although I think 4 is fine, but just to try and get a little bit different, let's put on 25% randomness and let those lineups build out. So hopefully that helps for the groups question. Happy to have you on the Big Energy Optimizer. Harden is out. Correct. He's out today. Who do you like the most out of the Pelicans players today? If I had to pick one guy from the Pelicans, I would take Lewis Jr. In my projections, he's basically the same type of a play today as Bledsoe, but he's going to be lower owned. So Lewis Jr. is probably my favorite play, not projection-wise, right? Like not pure points upside. I only have him for about 24 points. I have Bledsoe and Alexander Walker into the 30s and Alexander Walker closer to the 40s. I would rank it right now, Lewis, Bledsoe 2A, Alexander Walker 2B, Hart 3, or I guess 4 technically in that way. Appreciate all the people in here right now. I know not everybody subscribed to the channel, so what we got going on is NBA content, live streams at around 5 p.m. each night, right, during the week, sometimes on weekends as well, and then videos in the morning, and we'll also be having PGA content, MMA content. There's no UFC event this week, so we're not covering Bellator. We have a guy, Manpreet, comes on the channel for that, and then we'll be doing NFL content very, very soon, probably starting the NFL content only a month away. Like the NFL draft is in 4 weeks or so, so probably shortly after that, once I get back from a trip to Florida at the end of April, we'll probably start getting some MLB content once we have these draft locations for some of these players, or I think I said MLB, NFL content. We do have MLB started today. We do have MLB beta projections over on Patreon. No matter which tier you sign up for, you'll get access to those testing them out for the first month and then going from there. But I'm not going to have any time to make content around that. I'm late. What are your best 3 prize picks? Haven't gotten to prize picks yet, but we will definitely talk about prize picks. The Detroit unders on Sadiq Bey, though, and Josh Jackson, I have a wide difference. Like, those guys are projected in the mid to upper 20s in fantasy points. I have them in the teens. So it's interesting. What's the number one tip to newcomers to DFS? I love the content. Thank you. A number one tip, there's 2 tips. The first one is understand bankroll and what that means to you. I don't think bankroll is how much I have in my DraftKings account. I rarely keep money in any of those accounts. I just think that PayPal in my bank account is more secure, right? And there's no fees to be transferring out of anything, so why not put it in a more secure place? That's personally how I feel. So, and it doesn't matter if you win $50,000 and you leave it in there. Some people are not informed enough. They think, oh, it's not tax if it's in there. No, that's not true. It's tax money. So I take it out, I put it somewhere else. So bankroll doesn't have to be what you have in the account. It doesn't have to be, oh, I deposited 100, that's all I have. What are you willing to lose, right? So if you have X amount of money to your name and you have, okay, you come up with a number, okay, $500 is how much I can play this month. $50 is how much, whatever it is, you can play that much. Know that and know where it's going to be then best allocated. So know your bankroll. Where is that best allocated? For me, I personally believe that contest selection is then your next biggest step, and small field, single entry, and 3 maxes. So not chasing the $100,000 to first prize pool tonight because you'll never win it with one lineup against people playing 150, against 40,000 other people, against professionals playing 150, right? But he said never. It's 0.00001%. Okay. Well, go play the lottery with that money instead then, right? You probably have a bigger upside for your top prize. So play small field, single entry, and 3 max. Now it might only be $1,000 to first, but you have way better odds when 200 people at a $7 buy-in are competing for $1,000 to first place, and then there's obviously prizes after that. So understand your bankroll and what that means, right? You don't want to put too much in and get stressed and let it affect your life. It's supposed to be fun. And then 2, from there, pick the right contest. So none of it even have to start to do with understanding how to make lineups. It's more so contest selection, things like that. That is the most important thing. How many minutes do you have for Wendell Gabriel today? I have him at 14 minutes. You can see he's right at the bottom of the screen right there. There's the rest of New Orleans minutes. Caffeine pills, same as a 5-hour energy, somebody says. Well, I'm on one right now. You're hype, man, dog. But I did a mini thing today. Google it. Mini thin? Mini thing is a caffeine pill. I've heard of them. I've never taken one. What about D Wade today? Dean Wade today? D Wade. My man's calling Dean Wade D Wade these days. So Dean Wade today I have projected for 28 minutes. He's in a player pool. He's not a priority for me. That is another guy who's a big. You're right. So in terms of the bigs, I don't know if Dean Wade would ever play center. He could play small ball center, I guess. Again, Philadelphia is that the team to do it against? Probably not. Jokic just had now 2 bad games in a row. Yeah, it's like the world's ending on him. Kyrie's out now. Geez. So some people are saying Kyrie is out now. Kyrie is in. Kyrie is out. Just sign up for Patreon. Now let's win some dollar Ruskies. So definitely Danica. We'd love to hear it. So I'm going to update this to make sure to see if Kyrie's actually in or out. Kyrie is not out. I don't know. We got a spammer in the chat. Don't be doing that. I've had crap luck lately. Give me 2 for sure prize picks, says Chase. Aaron Rodgers. The over's on both of them. You can play both if you're a subscriber to this channel. $3,500 or under for a power forward option tonight. James Johnson will be the answer there every time at $3,000 slot probably. You like Bledsoe at 34. Do I like Bledsoe at 34? I don't know what that means. Like fantasy points, I have him at 32.8, so it's a no bet for me on a prop there. Brother from another mother, thoughts on Smokin' Joe? Man was smoking in the 4th, and he's the number 2 for the squad now. I don't know who Smokin' Joe is. Like Joe Harris? I don't know who Smokin' Joe is. We ain't talking Isaiah Joe. I don't know if there's another Joe on this slate outside of Joe Harris. Are we talking Joe Harris? If we're talking Joe Harris, I think he's fine. Nothing like of strong. And like the only ways that I really like Joe Harris are if you're getting an insanely cheap price on him, which $5,500 or not, and if he's playing power forward, which with Aldridge playing tonight, there's not going to really be much power forward minutes with Jeff Green out there, right? So when he's back to playing small forward and pretty much not moving inside the 3-point line, not on him as much. Oladipo ain't played in a while, so no way he gets to 30 minutes tonight, and he's right at the fantasy point per minute player, but not on the first night. Yeah, I'm not on Oladipo either. I agree with that. 18 minutes for LA, even with Blake out. Yeah, he's an old man who hasn't played in a while, and I think he's going to get the old man who hasn't played in a while's role, which was Blake Griffin. Sal Bag of Donuts. Time to hit us with them prize picks. No, it's not. I'm loving the over on Hartenstein and Okeke. Yeah, I like the under on Okeke, if anything. Hartenstein, I do lean the over. I have him at 26. I think he's at 23 over there. Who fills for Ingram and Zion outside of Hart? The whole team. Nickeil Alexander. I mean, the entire team. You're going to see a lot of guys fill in for those types of minutes, right? You're going to see exactly what we were just talking about earlier, right? $3,000 flat James Johnson is going to have to fill a lot of those power forward minutes. Wendell Gabriel will fill some of those power forward minutes. Johnson will be a guy who actually benefits from that. Wes Iwundu will fill a lot of minutes today. And then it'll trickle down to some other positions like Alexander Walker, like Lewis, those types of guys. Power forward, $6,200 and under. We're talking about the whole slate right now, $6,200 and under. I mean, what's the price range that we're looking between? Just $6,200 and under? Like, how low do you want to go down? How low to the go? Can you go down low? All the way to the flow? Like, how low are we trying to go here? How flexible are we? Chase says, Sal. Yes. Yes. Sal, would you go with a burrito or burrito on burrito day or something better like a steak? I'd go with the steak. Fuck them carbs, boy. Favorite play from New Orleans? Probably Lewis Jr. All of them look great. Like, New Orleans looks fantastic today. Sal, my guy, scooped 10X on Prize Picks last night. Your Harrell undercall got me there. Good looks, my man. Nice job, Brian. Way to go. Way to collect them dollar rooskies, yo. Way to collect them dollar rooskies. So I want to pull back up now that we have these lineups. So these are now optimized for some randomness in them. So this is trying to add some more randomness, and I mean, we're still getting chalk. Like I mean, Wiseman is the one difference maker here. So this is like a smaller field lineup, but everything else is pretty chalky. Taurean Prince starts to get you different. Gordon Hayward starts to get you different. So this one's getting a little bit different. Westbrook will be relatively, I would assume, lower owned today than usual. Like, he might not crack 20%. So now we start to add some randomness. We start to put some rules in, not a lot. Gordon Hayward I still like, right? $7,900. Still like him on all platforms. The over on Prize Picks. I think he's fine at SuperDraft. Fine on DraftKings. So now we're starting to get some differentiated lineups here. Draymond is very random. That's taking into account some randomness there. Outside of that, maybe some Bruce Brown to get different. So differentiated lineups are projecting out for like 6-7 points lower than some of your cash builds. And that's fine because we're obviously taking on that risk to get different. And becoming less optimal to get different for upside. DeJounte Murray here gets you a little different. Capella should pick up ownership. Harris gets you different. Hutchinson's a decent pivot, in my opinion, off of James Johnson. So these types of lineups are starting to look good. Now we have some groups in place, things along those lines. But a forward at $6,200 or below today, I believe you said power forward. $6,200 or below today. It is brutal out there in the streets. I mean, I'm probably just punting all the way down. I want to see if Dean Wade starts. James Johnson's at $3,000 flat. You could also punt with Hutchinson, but I'm probably punting all the way down. You could see if Taurean Prince starts, if there's no Kevin Love. It's just a punt for me. Like, if there's somebody else in that range that does stand out, that's not like a punt, it would be Joe Harris, right? He just finds himself in a weird range, but I don't want to be wasting a power forward spot on a guy who's probably going to play a lot of small forward today and rely on his shooting. So not something I'd probably go for more times than not. Top 2 forward plays on the day today. My top 2 forward plays on the day. I believe they're going. I mean, James Johnson's going to grade out well because he's $3,000 flat, but I'm probably not going to mark him there. It's probably for me Josh Hart, shooting guard, small forward, makes him pretty valuable. So I'll go Josh Hart as 1, and number 2, I'm going to try and take out all the maybes that I have. Number 2 for me will be Bruce Brown, still shooting guard eligible. Probably Kawhi. So I'll probably go with Josh Hart and Kawhi as the top 2 forward plays for me today. What's up? What's up? Late to the chat. Yard work sucks. Aldridge tonight. They said he's conditioned. How many minutes does he get? And is he power forward with Griffin out? Yeah, I have him at 8. I'm going to update it on Patreon, but I put him in at 18 minutes right now. That's where I'm at right now. Maybe I'll give him 20. Like, it's not like Jeff Green's just not going to play minutes, right? They are down Blake Griffin, but that guy was playing 18 or 20 minutes. So I don't think Aldridge is in play tonight. Unless you're like looking at him on FanDuel where I never look and he's a really cheap price point. Like, I know he's $4,000. I guess it comes down to the risk you want to take. There's no Harden, which helps him out a little bit. So it comes down to the risk that you're trying to take. I wish he was power forward eligible still. Shout out the good old days. Yeah, maybe I'm being harsh on it. I'll have to see if I can get him to 24 minutes. But then I'm really making like Jeff Green play like 16 minutes. I don't know how much they're going to do that today. But yeah, $4,000 more appealing. I didn't even know that until like the news broke, right? That he was going to even be potentially playing today. Sal, one day I'm going to be your Prize Picks content creator. I've been watching you and I hope to be in your spot one day. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know if I'll ever have Prize Picks specific content. If they become like the leader of this whole space, then it would make sense. Fellas, let's give our boy Sal a like and sub. His Patreon is fire. Best money you ever invested in DFS. We love to hear that. Yeah, be sure sign up. Beginning of the month on Patreon is the best time to sign up. Whether you want the optimizers, the Discord access, all of it. projections, ranks, all that type of stuff. MLB betas are now in there as well. So be sure to get up in that Patreon. Let's also check out, we've been looking at it, Tobias Harris or Hayward. Give me Hayward there. Sad, just sign up for Patreon. Where are the top 12 plays in the Excel projections? Yeah, so you'll go over ratings, and then you can just filter that in descending order, and it'll rank them based on highest rated play. The higher the number, the better. It'll be in green. So you go over to the rating column P, and that'll be there for you. I signed up for the optimizer today. Haven't gotten a damn thing done with my day job. We love to hear it. Can you rank New Orleans yeses plays in order of your priorities today? Yeah. So I would rank New Orleans yeses plays in order of my priority today. Lewis, Alexander Walker, Bledsoe, and Hart. Obviously contingent on who is starting and who's not. If you're a novice DFS player, which is the best league to attack? And use your advice to dominate. 50-50s, 100 players or less. What's going on, Neil? I personally don't play cash much, but 50-50s are fine. 100 players or less in a 50-50. I think you're better off getting a little bit bigger of a 50-50. So 50-50, obviously single entry, I assume it's a 50-50. If you can start to get bigger player pools for 50-50s, I think that'll help you out more if you're a novice player. But I personally like single entry 3-max GPPs, smaller fields. Hey, Sal, can you rank your Spurs for a GPP? Yeah, it's probably going to be DeJounte Murray for me. So it'll be DeJounte Murray, Patty Mills, DeRozan, Derek White, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl. 6 guys that are in a player pool from that team today for me. What small forwards do you like today? Hayward. Yep, I like Hayward. So there's going to be a decent amount of small forwards. Like you have Josh Hart is small forward eligible, so that's great. Obviously Kawhi all the way up top, small forward only, so that's fine. Hayward is okay, right? You have some GPP options like DeRozan and Tobias Harris that I think are okay to get to. Terrence Ross is still like the only guy in his team who actually is a quality basketball player on Orlando, but he's going to be not owned at all. He has 50-point upside on a team where there's no real basketball players. So if you want a 1% owned guy who has 50-point upside today, yeah, it's Terrence Ross. We just haven't seen it in like 2 games, so nobody wants to play him, but he's on a short list for single entry for me as a very, very low-owned guy. Like, I'm not expecting any ownership to come in on Terrence Ross. And then you can always just like go all the way down, right? Like Josh Hart is going to be the small forward play today for a lot of people. So will Kawhi just because of all the value that's out there. But yes, it would have been Diallo. Diallo would have been a pretty interesting option to me. Now that he's out, kind of have to pivot. Once you start to punt at small forward, you're really just looking at like Chandler Hutchinson, in my opinion, down there. And then obviously James Johnson at $3,000 flat. I'm sure people will gravitate towards, especially if we can see him draw a start today. If he doesn't start, 40-something% James Johnson is just probably the worst play you'll ever play in your life. But people won't go off of it. They'll talk themselves into, oh, he's $3,000. Oh, he can still get himself 18 minutes or something like that. Yeah, no, brutal. Alrighty, let me actually pull up this. Finding this email real quick. So let me do this, and this will be the link over to, if you want to sign up for Superdraft, they're sponsoring the program. I'm going to keep answering questions, of course, but I just want to go over to the Superdraft contest today. The MLB contests didn't fill, so, I mean, shocker. But this contest might actually fill tonight. I believe it starts at 8, so it's going to start a little bit later than the normal ones, but they lowered it a lot, so that's the issue, right? On these Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday slates, you're not going to have as much in there, and the MLB is now out, so I'm not going to say you lost your chance because you definitely didn't. This contest is only 34% filled, right? But this contest might fill. Yesterday filled at around 77, 78%. So just by entering a lineup over on Superdraft, multiplier format, we have projections. We can talk through Superdraft. You obviously beat almost a quarter of the field. They shortened the player pool, though. Yesterday was in the 1400s. Now it's 870. So I think this contest might actually fill because MLB started today. So they're kind of spreading out the wealth, if you will, between the two sports. But if you want to try out Superdraft, we have top plays. It's all linked down below. But it's also linked just into the chat right there. You can sign up, use the code SAL. Top Superdraft play by far and away, Kyrie Irving, then Alexander Walker, Kawhi, Josh Hart, and Gordon in that order are my top 5 options right now. I would expect this to fill. Like, I'm not going to lie. If it doesn't fill, maybe it'll go to 90%, which is still really good if you get 10% on an 870-person field, 10% not filling. But I'll be tracking that. I'll try and post some updates in the Discord as we go. If you want to check it out, just put the link in the description below. What's up, Sal? How we doing? Avery, how we doing? Jeremy Grant is small forward eligible. Yeah, I'm not really on Jeremy Grant. Tobias or Hayward, chat. Give me Hayward. Bledsoe or Kennard or Saban Lee. Give me Bledsoe. Any prize picks for today, says Derek? Yeah. There's some options. I posted in the Discord the ones that I like the most right now. I like the unders, probably the most on Bay and Josh Jackson. Their unders. I like the under on Steven Adams. It's at 36. That's pretty crazy. The over on Sexton from the video this morning is still standing. And then that's kind of it. Like Hayward and Hartenstein's overs I lean, but I like a lot of unders today, and Colin Sexton's over. Bledsoe or Kennard or Saban Lee? Bledsoe, I think we just answered that one. Adams or Reggie Jackson for utility? Steven Adams versus Reggie. Give me Steven Adams, just because I think Terrence Mann can really damper what Reggie Jackson can do today. Do you think PJ Washington bounces back today as a decent pivot? We can go over to Charlotte's minutes. Do I think he bounces back as a decent pivot? I don't know. Like, the problem with PJ Washington is his price is still there. Does he have that 50-point upside we saw earlier this year? Yes, but the price is still there for what he's going to do the far majority of the time. Let me just respond to an email. Hey, Sal, you think Hartenstein passes 23 on price picks? I have him at 26, so yeah, I have the over there. Interest in Bam or Butler and GPPs? If I had to pick one, I'd go Butler. I think there's a higher ceiling from a triple-double upside there more so. Kawhi under today. Yeah, no bet on that one for me. Top 5 cash plays tonight. Hartenstein, Alexander Walker. So top 5 cash plays are going to be Hartenstein, Alexander Walker, Kyra Lewis, Kyrie, and then you pick your 5th between Clint Capella, Kawhi, Bledsoe, and Hart. You pick your 5th from there depending on what you want to do with the rest of your salaries. But those are the 4 that I would probably start a cash lineup with. In the Excel doc. Didn't receive one today. So, send. I better be getting those. Your boy needs those. Thoughts on Miles Bridges? Same as always. He's going to play like 24 to 26 minutes with Malik Monk playing. It hurts him a lot more to have a ceiling, so not really there on Miles Bridges. Bay and Johnson over-unders are both 26. Easy unders. I have them both at the easy under, but we have to, like, they're probably going to get closer to no bets for me if Dennis Smith Jr. and Wayne Ellington are out, but I'm projecting those guys in today because we already have Diallo out. We already have Saquon DuBois is actually coming back, so it's at least one guy, but we already have some guys out on the team, so I'm waiting on what happens with some of these other guys from Detroit today. Claxton or Wade today? If you had to pick one, give me Wade. Somebody says, let's see those prize picks, bro. We just said them. Bro. Good slate to play today, or is it mostly chalk? Trying to decide if I want to play. I mean, if you can just get away from some of the New Orleans guys, like just don't play 4 New Orleans guys in your GPP lineup, and it's probably a good slate for you. If you're playing 4 New Orleans guys in a GPP lineup, it should probably be a lineup that has, or a contest that has less than 1,000 people. If you're trying to win with 4 New Orleans guys in there, you're going to have to get really different in your other spots. Real different in your other spots. That's my guess there. Interest in Grant? No, not really. Saban Lee kind of robbed us last night. How do you like him today with no Diallo? If Dennis Smith Jr. is out, I like him. If Dennis Smith Jr. and Wayne Ellington are in, no interest. So we got to wait. Then we're going to beat the Clippers by 20. Uh-oh. Top 2 centers on Super Draft today, the presenting sponsor of the program. Go check it out. Link down below and in the chat. Top 2 centers on Super Draft today for me, Nikola Jokic, and do a coin flip between Bam and Clint Capella. I'll go Bam because he has a higher multiplier. With a lot of value today, who are your favorite spend-up options on today's slate? I mean, Kyrie's going to be like your obvious option. He's like the only man left standing on his team today. I think he's just going to go out there and prove a point and ball out. There's going to be ownership surrounding that. So I would rank it Kyrie, Westbrook, and Kawhi. I actually think you get some nice Westbrook ownership today, meaning a little bit lower than usual. Those are my top pay-up options. Still not secure on Steph's minutes for the price point. Jokic would be next in line after that. Obviously no Harden today, no Zion. Now you're quickly like out of the 9K range. Do I need Westbrook and Kyrie if no Beal? Oh, I would definitely want Westbrook if no Beal. Westbrook's the play on the slate then if there's no Beal. There's so much value. Sal, which games will go into overtime do you think? LOL. 6% of them. Kevin Love's playing. Hartenstein still viable? Yeah, I'm projecting in Kevin Love. So Kevin Love being in does nothing for Hartenstein. Like, it doesn't hurt him at all. I gave Kevin Love 15 minutes today. I'm giving Kevin Love playing time at 15 minutes. Is Corey Joseph a good play? No. What are your top 12 plays right now? Top 12 plays, just including the yeses and no maybes in the top 12. So this is not exact. You could see Patreon for top 12, top 20, top 30. All of my yeses and maybes and nos. Hartenstein, Lewis, Bledsoe, Alexander Walker, Hart, Kyrie, Capella, Bruce Brown, Kennard, Dwight Howard, Kawhi, and Sexton. Does Rui Hachimura look good today? No, not unless Beal is out. Why does Ben Simmons suck? Thoughts on this goober getting a triple-double? That's the only way he's going to get you there is if he gets a triple-double, which at this rate, since he hasn't had any, you're just banking on something that hasn't happening, which never feels like a good idea. So that goober is not all that appealing to me. I still prefer Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris just seems like he has the higher opportunity to secure rebounds with high shot volume from what we've been seeing out of Ben Simmons, who's been a lot more passive lately. And, I mean, at least now he has some of his shooters back with Curry and Milton being healthy these last couple of weeks, but doesn't seem to be helping. Young and Derek White versus Jamal and DeJounte. Give me Jamal and DeJounte. Both those guys have massive ceilings for a GPP. Chumo Kiki, only Magic player to take a flyer on. Love the shirts out. Thank you. I appreciate that. My own cookbook says. Appreciate that. I don't really have any interest in Chuma, to be honest with you. I like the unders on Chuma on Prize Picks today. The only Magic guys that I like are none. I have no's by all of them. I think Terrence Ross is at least appealing, but he's already in the 7K range. But I do think he has like a 50-point ceiling. The rest of these guys just look like dumpster fires. Like, this team is fucking disgusting. How many minutes do you have Hartenstein for? I have him for 24 minutes today, my man Max. Can you go over Prize Picks? Yeah, I mean, the Prize Picks that I like today, this is Prize Picks, over-unders, fantasy points, things like that, player props. It's linked in the description below if you want to check it out. Yeah, these unders on Detroit are completely wrong, but they might not be wrong if I assume they're expecting Ellington and Dennis Smith Jr. to miss, which these guys were practicing, so I'm expecting them to maybe play today. But I have Sadiq Bey at like 17 fantasy points. I have Josh Jackson at 16, so like I am massively different from these guys, right? Like I have him by 9 points on the under, 10 points on the under for Josh Jackson. So I like those guys unders. Outside of that, the other ones that I lean towards, there's a decent amount of unders. I like Steven Adams. I have him for like 27 fantasy points, so massively on the under there. The blocks can help him out, of course, but massively lean the under there. There's a couple of overs that I like, but nothing stands out in like a major way. Lean the over on guys like Gordon Hayward. The unders, usually I don't like the unders as much. Like lean the over on Hayward. Usually I don't like the unders as much, but they're looking nice. My favorite over is probably Sexton. Same one as this morning that we did in the video. Probably still Sexton at 34. I think that's a pretty good number. Can't believe it, but the Bulls would play Javonte Green instead and then went with Big Laurie, ended up with 0. Uh-oh. Kevin Love starting. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Still expect him to play like 15 minutes. I mean, he was on a 15 minutes limit for 2 games and then he got hurt, so I can't see them taking that off anymore. Matthew Dellavedova is actually back. Wow. Happy to hear that. Dellavedova, I believe, was dealing with a concussion and then like an abdominal injury at the same time, which is brutal. What value can we seek out as a result of the Diallo news right now? I don't think much. Yeah, I really don't think much from Detroit is going to open up as value. They're not the same team that we got a couple of days ago. They're priced up. There's so many bodies on this team. If Dennis Smith Jr. and Ellington are out, then you'll start to have some value, of course, in Saban Lee and Corey Joseph, right? But if Dennis Smith Jr. and Ellington play, I don't think there's much value in the team. Who's your top center play? Isaiah Hartenstein today. Who do you like at power forward today? Give me a price range because power forward I can name like 10 guys. Do you like Rui, Graham, Draymond, Poole, or Oubre? Raw fantasy points today on DK tiers. I will take it's a coin flip between Oubre and Draymond. Give me Draymond. Chetty Osman today? No, not for me. Poto is your 6th ranked super Spur today. Really? Yeah, the Spurs look good today. I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. Like exactly in my ratings today. That was for GPPs, right? So I'm trying to factor in lower ownership. If you want the exact ratings for me, my ratings right now are Patty Mills, like based on my projections, right? Not taking into account ownership and GPP. Patty Mills, DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson, Derek White, DeMar DeRozan, and Poto is still number 6. 7 would be Rudy Gay, but he's not in play for me. So yeah, I mean, Jakob Poeltl is priced appropriately. He's a fantasy point per minute producer who you hope plays 28 to 30 minutes, and he's priced exactly for those 30 fantasy points a game. His ceiling rarely comes out, and he's at a position where there's so much opportunity cost every night at center. Does that negatively affect Hartenstein with Graham start or Love starting? No, I've been projecting in all day. Love starting for 15 minutes of play. I mean, it makes more sense for them to start him. If you're trying to limit somebody's minutes, you start them and you can take them out at the beginning of each quarter, right? You can put Love in tonight for 4 minutes a quarter and give him his 16 minutes, right? Adams is at 30 now. Yeah, hopefully he got the 36 on Adams. I don't know what Prize Picks was doing earlier. Like, they are sleeping on some of these. Sadiq Bey and Josh Jackson, I like the unders even if Ellington and Dennis Smith are out. But if they're in, they're clear locks, in my opinion. But this Adams, now it's at 36. I don't know how this was at... now it's at 30. I don't know how it's at 36. Like, I really don't know. I updated all the projections, had him at 27 points and change, and I went and looked, and I was like, how is this happening, right? It's not like he gets more efficient. He's a center. He's going to still rely on his rebounds, right? Lonzo hasn't been out there. I get it. Like, you're taking away Zion and putting in James Johnson, so 3 more rebounds in the game, right? Percentage-wise. That's not going to jump him from a 25 fantasy point projection that I had him at to 36 because he's going to get 3 more rebounds, maybe a block. Is Elise Johnson in play? I have him for a whole whopping 2 minutes on his brand new 10-day contract, so no. Do you have any players as a yes for power forward? Yes, I do. I have a lot of yeses today. There's a lot of value on this slate. I have to lower my yeses probably. I currently have 16 yeses. I believe I have a yes at power forward. Maybe I don't. Marcus Morris, I think he's power forward eligible. Who knows? Actually, yeah, so Marcus Morris might be the only guy if he's even power forward eligible. Let me see. So Marcus Morris, power forward eligible, still questionable today. I think he's my only yes at power forward. But there's some pretty strong power forwards, like Gordon Hayward is power forward eligible. PJ Washington, if you want to take the risk. And then you have some of the punt options, your Dean Wade, your Torian Princes, those type of guys. You can keep going down the list. James Johnson, if you're trying to punt all the way down. Chandler Hutchinson's a nice pivot off of a chalky James Johnson. If Beal is out, who's the odd man out between Kyrie, Kawhi, and Capella? Capella. You like Michael Porter Jr.? No. Jokic or Westbrook? Westbrook. Thoughts on Marcus Morris if he plays? He's one of my yeses. Yeah, I like him a lot. Give him 34 minutes. He looks really good. Best power forward under 4K today. Projection-wise, it's James Johnson at $3,000 flat. Just punt all the way down. Hutchinson is a nice pivot off of him, though, if you're in a chalky lineup. Should we keep Aaron Gordon out until we see him put up a good fantasy game? Yeah, I don't have much interest. He's not going to project out good for me. That whole team just doesn't look great. Like, you're banking on the ceiling performances like you got last time with Michael Porter and Jamal Murray, but now those don't come out often, and their price points are going up. Digging the shirts out. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. Millsap or Kennard? Last thing, Kennard. Thank you, Sal. No problem. Jimmy or Bam? Last, I swear. Yeah, keep asking your questions. I don't care. Get as many as you want, and that's the whole point of the show. Your questions make the content for the show, if you will. Jimmy or Bam today? Jimmy's my answer. We had that one earlier as well. It's a good question. Jimmy will be my answer there. Jimmy will be my answer there, good sir. Murray or White today? Murray. There's a clear price difference, but I'll take Murray. I mean, yeah, give me Murray. Matter of fact, build a tiers lineup and DM it to me, somebody says. Yeah, I don't think I played tiers in my life. Maybe I played it once. Like 2 or 3 years ago when I first started, somebody was really into tiers when it first started. I have nothing against tiers. It's just like never really been something that I like. I'd rather just go take player props, right? Not have to compete against people. Obviously, there's a bigger upside in some of these tiers contests, though. Gallinari, good option for Collins. Not for me. I think Capella takes a lot of that. Like with Bogdan Bogdanovic back, some other players now in Atlanta, it hurts Gallinari's upside, especially with the minutes not being there. So Westbrook is a core play if Beal is out. Yes. I mean, Westbrook quickly jumps into the 65+%. Do we use Patreon login for the optimizer? So yeah, John, what's up? I saw you just signed up. On the posts for the NBA or any tool you're looking for any sport, the optimizer, if you go to this post for the NBA, I'll actually pull it up right here if you'd like. So it's on the screen right now, right? Yep. So let's zoom in here. So here's the MLB beta projections. If you want to check those out, if you have access, they're access to all patrons. But if you go here to the NBA post from today, you can see how to use the tool. You can see all the updates that I made so far while on the stream. You click this link right here. It'll take you to the access information for the optimizer. So hopefully that helps you out, my friend. Rui or MPJ? MPJ. Sal, can you check the prize picks board and see if any of your picks changed? None of my picks changed. I already have my picks in. So, like, I'm not touching Steven Adams now. If he's at 30, I'm not touching him. If you got him at under 36, that's the way to go. But, yeah, I think that the Detroit guys aren't going to change unless we get news on Ellington and Dennis Smith saying that they're in. Then maybe you get them to change, and at that point, you're probably too late. So I already have my ins on these guys. Sexton still at 34. Give me the over. I lean the over on Garland 28, but I haven't placed it because it's not as good as some of these other ones. But you still have Josh Jackson and you still have Sadiq Bey. So click the link in the description. Check it out. Sign up. Play. Yeah. Like at the very worst, Ellington and Dennis Smith Jr. are out, and Sadiq Bey probably scores 24, and Josh Jackson probably scores 20, right? Diallo being out is the big reason why it helps these guys, right? These guys were priced at this before Diallo went out. Like, this is crazy. In that instance, they should be thinking that Diallo's being out should make them be higher projected, right? It's just kind of interesting to see that. Projection on Hayward today for you. Yeah, it's in the 39s. I have Hayward at 39.7. I like him. Thank you, my man. No problem. Steph or Trey Young? I was thinking Steph is a pivot. I'll go Trey Young. Trey Young is a pivot. So, like, Steph will be a pivot to an extent, right? Like, Steph will be low owned today. But I think that you're going to be seeing Trey Young also low owned. The way that Trey Young's been playing lately is not encouraging anybody, in my opinion. So nobody really wants to play him. I think that Trey Young and Steph are equally as owned, right? I think people with your projections would kill it in tiers. I'm just cheap as fuck, somebody says. Probably, right? But there's still some game theory to tiers. Like when you're taking the prize picks over-unders, you don't have to worry about ownership, right? In tiers, you still have to worry about ownership. You still have to try and project it. Like if there's two guys who you know are going to be popular, right? And they're the clear options in that tier. And one might be 50% on, the other might be 35%. Knowing which one of those that is, and that's pretty hard to do in tiers, knowing which one that is, well, always take the 35% on guy if they have similar projections, right? I swear, once I win $20 from one of these single entries, I'll be joining the Patreon, says Andrew. Hey, man, the Patreon will help you win one of those $20. The chicken or the egg, right? Carter's Productions waves his hand. What's going on, Carter's Production? How you doing? What's your better play, Kyrie or Westbrook if Beal doesn't play? If Beal doesn't play, then it's Westbrook for me. Is Hart a good play on Superdraft at 1.7x? Any other Superdraft plays opening up? Yeah, lots of plays over there. Hart's fine, right? Kyrie is the play right now in Superdraft. Hart is my number 4 play. Continue to go back to the well with Gordon Hayward at 1.45x. So, disclaimer, all the New Orleans guys, Bledsoe, Hart, Alexander Walker, look fine over there, right? But some higher multiplier guys who might not get his notice. DeJounte Murray will keep going back to the wall with him, 1.45x. Gordon Hayward, Derek White, 1.75x, continues to work out for us. Reggie Jackson quietly at 1.8x today, might be starting at point guard, but expect him to start at point guard. Sal, who's your best forward under 6K on DraftKings today? It is probably Josh Hart at 5,700. Boom. Thanks. No problem, John. Just joined. What's the updated top 12 with all the Pelicans now out? So we'll pull up the Pelicans minutes and we can give you the top 12. Actually, let's do this. Let's put the top 12 on the screen. We got a whole screen to work with. So this is the updated top 12, keeping in mind that not all these guys are yeses. Not all these guys are priorities for me, right? This is based on their point per dollar rankings and upside there. So this is the updated top 12, keeping in mind, like I just said, that not all these guys are yeses for me. So there you go. And the guys who aren't yeses that you can currently see on the screen, James Johnson is not a yes for me. He is massively owned in a guy who he's at $3,000 flat, but there's other values, right? Jackson Hayes, Tyler Johnson, Taurean Prince, Chandler Hutchinson. These guys are not yeses for me. So if we take those guys out of the equation, other guys start to become in that top 12. Those other guys would be guys like Bruce Brown, Luke Kennard, Dwight Howard, Kawhi Leonard, Colin Sexton, right? Marcus Morris even starts to get into the picture. So all these guys in the 3K range, none of them are yeses. The reason why is because there's that many guys in the 3K range. So if everybody wants to put their eggs in one basket, shout out Easter, if everybody wants to put their eggs in one basket with James Johnson tonight, which it's appearing right now, I get it. It's fine. He's going to play for New Orleans. They're down a lot of power forwards tonight. He's $3,000 flat. He's a good producer. We've seen him produce as recent as this year on, I believe, Dallas, right? But when there is this many other 3K options on the slate, Jackson Hayes, Tyler Johnson, Taurean Prince, Hutchinson, all of which are probably going to play 20-plus minutes tonight as well, I don't know how you go to a 40% owned guy, right? Even if James Johnson goes for 24 fantasy points tonight, one of these guys can match that at a third of the ownership, right? So, I mean, that's just the easy leverage game. I understand why people like James Johnson. He grades out nice for me because he's so fucking cheap, but he still grades out for 19 fantasy points. It's nothing crazy, but I don't know who's pumping up the stock of James Johnson all the way up to a 40% owned guy, but it's pretty crazy because you can currently get, if you want a 3K pivot option, Jackson Hayes at close to 10%. And then all these other guys, Taurean Prince, Tyler Johnson, all these other guys at below 10% owned. So there's some really nice ways to get leveraged off of that. Chandler Hutchinson tonight, keeping in mind there's no Daniel Gafford anymore for Washington. Hutchinson might play 24 minutes, score 20 fantasy points, and be 2% owned. And that's good when he's that low owned, right? 2% might be really low, but I expect Hutchinson to be close to that low owned. Lean the under on Ben Simmons. Hasn't hit 41 in 5 straight games on Cleveland. Keeps the opponents under 110. There you go. Yeah, if you got the analysis to back it up, I believe that you go with that, my man. Devontae Graham, Derek White, or Michael Carter-Williams. Derek White for me. Do you post final lineups for members only before lock? I don't post final lineups ever. I'm not a tout service. I give tools. We have a community asset. So we're community-based with tools, right? So optimizers, projections, ranks, top plays, everything's updated, right? Top plays in terms of player pools, which are just basically for people that are working, summarizing the point per dollar rankings into a rating system. But If you have ever paid in your life, don't worry, you just got fooled. But if you ever pay in your life for somebody to make lineups for you, man, oh man, it is so hard to beat the DraftKings percentages to profit already. And now you're putting a fee on top of that for somebody to just build your lineup for you. Something that the lineup optimizer that I have will do better than those people, because it will take into account randomness and other stuff and my projections, which is better than those people mashing numbers together, right? I remember early on in DFS, I got invited to this Facebook group. Won't say the name of it, but, it seemed like a scam. Get into the Facebook. They're like, hey, if you want to post some of the charts that you're posting on YouTube and things like that in here. And I was like, sure. I got my YouTube brand out. And like these people just start like switching lineups back. Like the one guy came in at like 6 p.m. and was like, here's the lineup tonight. Let's all eat. And like charging people to get into this Facebook group. And I was like, this is so weird. Like this guy, and just by watching it for a week or two, this guy was winning half the time at best, right? Having a cashing lineup at best half the time, and just profiting off of these people who, for some whatever reason, thought that this guy was like the savior making their lineups. If I could build GPP winning lineups every night and lineups that cash every single night, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be raking in 7 figures a year from DFS profits. It's not realistic, right? That's why I went away from playing cash games. They're fun if you just like the little sweat. You don't want to worry about it. You have a decent lineup. You'll cash half the time, whatever. If you think that, it's probably not true. It's so much more difficult now to win in cash games because of where the level of content is now compared to 5 years ago. It's all small field, single entry GPPs for me. Small field, single entry, 3 max GPPs for me is the way to go. Michael Carter-Williams was just ruled out, somebody said, or it might have been a couple minutes ago, but now I'm catching up on the chat. We currently have Jerome Robinson will start if Beal is out. Michael Carter-Williams was ruled out today, and that is all the other news. So Michael Carter-Williams, I will update after the stream in a couple minutes. Best Cleveland value plays today. It's Hartenstein and Sexton. Magic opening up any value now with Carter Williams out? Yeah, let's actually look at this. My guess will be slight things, right? Like maybe I finally get to Terrence Ross since I've been wanting to play him, but I'll update for T. Ross or Carter Williams being out. Is Jokic going to break 50 points? Yeah, at some point, right? Can Kyrie handle back-to-back games? It's been a while. So for Orlando today, I'm going to update this stuff right now with Michael Carter Williams being out. I'm going to be curious to see who starts at center for Orlando today. But I'll be updating it. Like, obviously, it's just going to balance out. Like Chase and Randall stinks. He'll probably get the start. Torian or Terrence Ross gets a little bit more usage. But they traded for RJ Hampton, and they seem to want to play him. They have James Ennis. They have Dwayne Bacon, right? So I can't see one guy really benefiting that much from that. But I'll update that afterwards. Probably still not going to have any interest in any of those guard small forward options. Depending on who starts at center. If it's Ken Birch, probably no interest. If we can see Mo Bamba start for once, there'll be interest there for sure. John Wick says, thanks. No problem, man. Thoughts on Westbrook under 1.5 threes tonight? No stance on that. No, I mean, I could tell you the under, but I'm not betting it. I don't have a stance on it. So if Beal is in, is Westbrook still in play since he'll be low owned? Yes. Yeah, Westbrook's in play either way for me. Yep. Rudy Gay or Batum today? If I had to pick one, Batum. Is Kyrie, Kawhi, and Russ possible in one lineup? There's enough 3K value out there, but you're going to need it all to hit. You can't have those guys scoring you 12, and somebody's going to bust, right? Bradley Beal game time decision. Yep. 76ers have been awful for fantasy points. Agreed. Do you post your address after the stream, somebody says? Oh, no. DeJounte Murray, Jamal Murray. DeJounte Murray. Which one is better on pure points projections? I'm not going to add all these up, my man Kyle. I'm sorry. I don't want to do the math right now on 6 players. But Hayward, Lewis, Morris, or Johnson, I assume Keldon? Or is that James? Kawhi, Bruce Brown. Kawhi will be in the 50s. Hayward will be at 40. Lewis will be in the mid-20s. Morris will be in the upper 20s. I don't know if that's Keldon or James. James will be at 19. Bruce Brown will be in the mid-20s. The first one, if that's James Johnson. If it's Keldon Johnson, probably the second one. Besides Kyrie, who was the best plays on Superdraft today? So outside of the obvious New Orleans guys, Gordon Hayward, Trey Young, DeJounte Murray, Terry Rozier, Steph looks good at a 1.3x. Derek White for a high multiplier guy. Reggie Jackson for a high multiplier guy, right? Obviously not secure plays, but upside plays because of that. Salem, what tab is the 12 players on Excel? The projections tab on the bottom, you go to P. I have a video on how to use the tools. So, JM, if you want to just watch that video, it's attached to every single NBA post. It'll show you exactly what each column means. But, yeah, there's the column P. Column P, let's just do this. Fuck it. I don't care if we put these projections on the screen right now. So, column P. This rating projection, you click the little thing, you click descending, and it'll factor it by overall top rated plays. We already talked about the top 12, so they're on the screen right now, basically. And these are the interests. This is what you get, part of what you get in the Patreon. All the tools, projections, ranks, it's updated up and throughout lock, which is a huge value prop, not even counting the Discord or the optimizer. All right, so hopefully that helps you, my man. If not, just reach out on Patreon, or if you want to watch that video, that'll help too, for sure. I think that'll be a big help. I'll drop the link to Patreon once again into the Discord. Let's check what the update is on Superdraft's player pool or contest sizes. So Superdraft now for the NBA is up to 3. It's not really growing. I thought it'd be into the 400s by now. It's at 322, so it's not really growing. So 322. So Superdraft with 2 hours or so until lock, 220, 37% filled. The MLB might halt this, so keep an eye on this. We'll update it in the Discord, but try out Superdraft. It's linked in the description below. Highly, highly, highly recommend because these contests are still. My man, JM just signed up. I appreciate that, my man. Blake just joined the Hall of Fame tier. I appreciate all the people hopping into that Hall of Fame tier. Thank you. Welcome into the community. Happy to have all of you. So yeah, be sure to check out Superdraft because this is pretty interesting, I would say. I think Blake Griffin is out, correct. There's a link to Superdraft right there in the chat. It's also linked down below. I thought that this number would be higher. And what we're seeing right now on the screen, for those of you not aware, this is Superdraft's big contest tonight for NBA. Only 37% filled with about 2 hours and 20 minutes until lock. Usually they fill at like 75 to 85%, meaning if you enter a lineup, you beat 15 to 25% of the field. I thought since they lowered the field size, right, because MLB started today, they lowered it by like 500 people, that this wouldn't fill, but it seems like it might fill. Can you delete lineups from DraftKings after exporting them in? You will just have to, so if you enter them all in, you just have to re-download a CSV file and then do it again. You can manually edit them in DraftKings, or if you want to like change them all because of injury news, you can just re-crunch everything and then copy and paste those back in. Best center on Superdraft today. Best center on Superdraft today for me, projection-wise, I believe it's still Jokic. He gets an extra 5% points. If you don't want to go to Jokic, Bam, and then Clint Capella or toss-ups, I go to Bam with the higher multiplier. But what we're seeing is MLB's taking away from Superdraft or NBA right now. 2 hours before lock, I thought that this, because of the smaller field, would be around 40% filled. It's only at mid-30s. So interesting for us to track that as we go. So we put in some of the rules of the optimizer. There's obviously more rules that we can put in, right? Like, this is a pretty interesting rule to set tonight. You can set Hutchinson, James Johnson. So even more of these value guys, right? You can set just to get one of those guys, right? Or you can set it so we can put Jackson Hayes, and you can say at most I want 2 of these guys. So like you won't get any lineups where somebody asked earlier, like, hey, can I have a lineup with Kawhi Leonard in it and Bradley Beal, or Kawhi Leonard, Russ if Beal's out, and Kyrie? And you probably need to play 3 value guys, right, to do that. But I'm not playing these 3 value guys, and the optimizer will give you them because they're just cheap. So you can put at most 2 of those guys, or maybe you only want 1 of them, and you can go from there. So let's build another lineup now. I'll have to update some of the projections for the news of Michael Carter-Williams out, so obviously this will change, and they will be updated and reflected after lock. But let's put a max of 3 from a team, 3 uniques. Let's crank up this randomness. Let's go 45% randomness. Now you're going to start to get some crazy lineups, but let's let that build down and see what happens. Chase and Randall got game? No, never that. Clint or Jamal for 7,700. Clint. Join Patreon. Listen to Sal. Change your life, says Dale. My man Dale's an OG. I appreciate you, my man. Hope you're having a good day. What do you think about Okiki? 8.5 points on PrizePicks. A no bet for me. I'll be honest with you. I have not bet a single prop other than fantasy points on PrizePicks. Once I think that their fantasy points are like very hardcore and I can't beat them, I'll go over to props. But the thing with props is you're getting all the upside out of fantasy points. Like prop says, okay, let's look at the inefficiencies in the Okiki's points, real life points, rebounds, assists, or blocks, whatever they have for him. And now you're combining all those inefficiencies and you're getting a greater edge one way or the other. It's rare that you'll see an edge on one of them. Points, if you're going to go to anything, the actual real life points would be my second best option there. But I just prefer the under. I prefer the under on his fantasy points, but I'm not enough to go to the under just on his actual points because I think you get more leverage, obviously, by combining them all together. Is at least my thought process there. Sal, my guy, thank you for all your advice. I'm finally a Patreon member since it took me 6 months to save the money for a whole year, my man says. My man. I appreciate that. I appreciate you hopping in there. Hopefully we can help you out. I believe that we will. Be sure to get connected into the Discord. All the people, about 10 people signed up during the stream, so can't thank you enough. No better time to sign up for Patreon than the beginning of the month. That Discord is becoming something of a very special place, I would say. I'm excited with COVID slowly starting to end in terms of just more vaccines going out, people getting healthier, being safer. Maybe we can even get some in-person events with some of those people in the Discord, whether it's regional, whether it's flying some people in for like fantasy football drafts, and we can do some of those all together. There's some really fun stuff that I want to be doing and planning with the community. And the Discord is obviously the groundwork or the floor for that, I would say. I don't even know what the foundation, there we go, is what I'm looking for. The foundation, so be sure to get in there. Is Claxton not in play with Aldridge in? I didn't really like Claxton either way. I took him out of the player pool earlier today. Eating me a buffalo chicken sandwich from Chili's here pretty soon. Yeah, just call it a burrito, man, so you can celebrate today. Just call it a burrito. Sal, how many entries is considered a small field for you? Yeah, it is all relative. I mean, 1,000 people or less is pretty small field to me. I personally like staying in like the 500 person or less contests. I obviously don't only play in those because there's not enough of them to fulfill the money I want to get down. Sam says, I'm signing up for Patreon tomorrow when I get paid. Cannot wait for the Discord access and to start playing Prize Picks. Yeah, Sam, that's actually funny. So happy to hear that. Some people getting paid on Friday, of course. But here you go. The Discord today, look what we added. So we added MLB today, and we actually added this morning. I was just like, you know what? Let's just build some MLB projections. So we hit an API, so we're going to have some beta MLB projections in there. They came out today. But then today we added a Prize Picks chat. And the Prize Picks chat, I mean, the NBA Prize Picks, those are like the most poppin'. There's no MMA this week. Obviously no NFL going on, and golf already started. But the Prize Picks chat in the Discord right now, I mean, it is just nonstop. I mean, people are watching the stream right now, but it's just not like this is dating back to 3:00 today. Like I'm scrolling right now, we're dating back to 2:20. Like this is today, this afternoon. Like it's so 2:00. This is at least a couple hundred messages, and we're not even at 1 p.m. today. So 5 hours, right? And obviously, if you're like, I don't want all those notifications, you don't have to worry about that, right? I don't have notifications on. I come in whenever I want. If people at me, I go and check them out. I have no notifications on my phone. Jock Market is the only notifications that I get currently. So it's very active is all I'll say. Kira Lewis, worth a shot tonight. He's my favorite New Orleans player, yes. Love in 15 minutes, definitely not a priority. Yeah, I only have him for 15 minutes. He's nowhere near a priority. I don't know if they came out with that news that he's on a 15-minute limit, but that's what I'm projecting him at tonight. That's what we saw before the break. I honestly don't know how Prize Picks is going to make money at this point, somebody says. I mean, they will, right? The thing is that we play in the NBA. I don't know how efficient their lines are. I didn't look today on the MLB on those projections. I'll be honest with you. I was out doing some things, getting fitted for a wedding, looking at some new car opportunities on trying to buy a used car. If anybody in the chat knows anything about used cars, there was a lot of cars that look good for like 20K used cars, but I kind of want to have my preset budget around 15K. So if anybody knows anything about good used cars and where to find them, I went to a CarMax. So they were busy, so I couldn't get a meeting. Or appointment. I just kind of looked around. Kelly O, good for small field. Not for me. Not for me personally. Thanks. I'm new to SuperDraft, says Lamar. No problem, man. Happy to see you there. Yeah. Be sure to check out SuperDraft. It's linked down below. Appreciate you checking that out. Have fun with it, man. Zeller and Hardenstein cool tonight? Not for me. Too many better centers to go to Zeller. Sad, you like Ross over 30 fantasy points with Michael Carter-Williams out. I'll probably project him for around 33, but I have to update it for sure. Simmons or Rozier? Give me Rozier. Is Capella your favorite center play on SuperDraft? I'm terrified to play Jokic. Yeah, if you don't want to play Jokic, it's a coin flip between Capella and Bam. Bam has an extra 5% advantage, but Capella has more block upside in my opinion. So it really is a coin flip. I think Bam will be lower owned if that also helps your decision there. Blind for a little about Craigslist, you'll get the best deal, but it can be sketchy. Yeah, that's my issue, right? Like I don't want to buy a car that breaks down in a year, right? Pay like 10 grand for a car that breaks down in a year. Alexander Walker or Monk? Alexander Walker. Somebody says get a Honda. Yeah, I've been told that. I've been told Hondas and Toyotas are like the most reliable cars. I don't know anything about cars. I bought my first car like 5 years ago, and it's been 5-6 years ago, and it's been fine since. It's just getting to the point where it's like 165,000 miles, and I don't want to have to make a big repair for a car that's worth $2,000, right? And I have to do a cross-country road trip soon. So trying to find a reliable car that is somewhat sporty. Like I don't really care too much about the looks. I just don't want it to be like as bland as possible. But I saw some Nissan Sentras, like 2018s, that look pretty good. Hey, Sal, check out Car Gurus and make sure you try for a loan with a credit union first. Yeah, I'm not trying to get a loan. I'm going to pay cash. That's why I want to buy a used car. I'm just going to pay straight cash, homie. No loans. Never that. No more loans in my life. Mortgage, maybe, if that. Trying to pay cash for that, too. Josh Jackson drop on Prize Pick. Did he? So Josh Jackson dropped on Prize. Look, I don't know if they're watching the streams, but Josh Jackson and Sadiq Bey are massively over projected. So we've had all day. Everybody in the Discord. So if you watch these streams, you want to get into the Discord, it's another benefit. People talk about these all day. Let's see. Did Josh Jackson drop? What he dropped? He dropped to 23. Sadiq Bey is still at 26. Josh Jackson drops to 23. I still like the unders on those, but clearly getting 3 more points if you got to 26 is the way to go. So it is easier to work on if that matters to you. Yeah, I mean, if it makes it cheaper to fix, like literally, like look rarely matters. Like I just want a reliable car that's decent on gas. And I mean, obviously, like ideally below 50,000 miles, which it seemed like there was some options that after all the fees and taxes would have cost me around 15. Seems like a really standard price is like 18 for a lot of those, but trying to get a little bit lower. Cash money, says Brandon. Always. Dang, big balling. Yeah, I mean, I just don't have any interest in getting a car loan. Like leases to me we call them fleeces in this part. You just getting fleeced on a lease. You constantly pay full price for a car your whole life. If you're just constantly getting leases, you're just constantly paying full price for a car for a lease. Then you give it back to the dealer, so you don't even own it, to continue to do that. And then the dealer's going to go sell it for $25,000, and you're going to pay them 3 years, and then they're going to go sell it for the almost normal price of the car. Like, it's crazy. They don't have to legally put in certain terms and fees that you own into their contracts because they're technically in their own carved out lease category. So you're actually paying some more money as well. Once you start going over the mileage limits, you can get dinged majorly. You go over your 30,000 miles in 3 years, which so many people fucking are, or 36,000, whatever a lot of those are. If you're going to be in Texas, make sure that AC works for sure. Dean Wade or Torian Prince? Give me Dean Wade, unless Torian Prince starts. Bro Gets Body says, this guy gets it. There we go. Get a Prius if you're moving to Austin, somebody says. I don't know if that was like a joke, a knock on Austin being like the blue part of the big old red state, but yeah. Car Gurus. Car Gurus is clutch, somebody says. I'll check out Car Gurus. Okay. A couple of people have been saying that, so I'll check that out. Car Gurus. Alrighty. All right, we've been live for like an hour and 10. We're going to wrap this bad boy up. Let's get these final questions. Bacon at 24.5. What the fuck? Yeah, he went up because of no McCarr Williams. Go hybrid if you're buying used, less engine troubles. All right, another good tip there. Think Dean Wade will get 30-plus minutes with Love in? No, I don't. Kawhi or Capella as our third stud? Give me Kawhi. I bought a used Sentra back in the day. Never had a problem with it and super reliable. Highly recommend them. Love to hear that. Yeah, I saw a couple of decent. The color I didn't really like. It was like this weird blue. So I'm going to look at another couple of lots tomorrow. But Sentras, like Toyota Corollas and Camrys have been popping up. Sentras, like I guess that's like the neighborhood that I'm looking for. Decent mileage, right? Who's your projected starters for the Pelicans today? Beats me, man. We'll see who starts a power forward if it is James Johnson. I expect Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The easy ones are Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Steven Adams. I expect it to be Bledsoe, Alexander-Walker. I want to see if they go 3 guards or not. I don't know if they go Lewis, right? With those guys. But Bledsoe, Alexander-Walker, Josh Hart, Steven Adams. I think Lewis comes off the bench, and then you probably get James Johnson at the 4. But we'll see what ends up happening. I could see them spot starting a Wendell Gabriel at the 4, right? Honda Civic is the greatest car. Honda Civic is the way to go. The newer ones look nice and are reliable. Also, Honda Civics, yeah, I've been told that too. I just can't find a Honda Civic in the right price point. Like I saw a white Honda Civic today that after like the fees and the title and licensing, which I'm assuming taxes alone are going to be like an extra $1,500 to $2,000. They started to get closer to $20K, and like I can afford a $20,000 car. I just don't want to. Like at that point, then you're starting to say, why don't I just get a new car for $25K? And then I'm just like, why am I buying a $25,000 car when I literally don't drive? I work from home. I'm going to be living in an area in Texas where I can walk everywhere. So my drives are going to be 30 minutes to my girlfriend's parents' house, like whenever we see them, which will be somewhat often, but I just need a reliable car. I'm not looking for flashiness. I can give a shit less what people think about it. I just want it to be reliable, have AC, have a way for me to play music, and be comfortable to sit in. That's about it. Have decent space in the trunk. That's about it. Put my golf clubs in and some other boxes. Some bodies. What? Cadillac CTs. Loved mine. Nice. Can you win without having a player in the late game? Yes. Buick. Okay. Lots of bike riding in Austin. Yeah. Camry sounds good for you. Okay. Yeah, I have a friend who's really into cars. He said look into like Toyota Camrys, Honda Civics, Honda Accords, all those types. So I'll kind of see. I'll kind of put those down on the list when I go tomorrow. Appreciate that. Camry sounds good for you. Nice. All right. Thanks for all the help, everybody. You guys help me out with the car advice, right? You guys help me. Oh, I scratch your back. You scratch mine as much as we can. Kyrie dropped to 51. What did I miss? You didn't really miss anything. People just betting it down. Yes, Sal, as long as it goes gas mileage, AC, stereo, all else doesn't matter. I agree. All right, everybody. I appreciate you all tuning in. I'm going to bounce now. We're an hour or so until lock. Be sure to check out Superdraft. They are the sponsor of the program. You use my name, Sal, and that link in the description below. We'll see what their current fill is at. And you will get, if you put $25 or more, I should probably say this, it's a fucking bonus. You put $25 or more, they'll give you $25, and you get entered into a chance to go on some free vacations each month through Superdraft because of their partnership with Seizure Rewards. Superdraft is currently filling 360 out of 870 people. Their slate locks in 2 hours at 8. I think this one might lock. We'll see because it's a smaller field now, but we'll see how much baseball is going to influence it. It's filling at 41%. My guess is it locks, but we'll see. Trading the DFS advice for car advice. There we go. All right, everybody. I appreciate you all a ton. I'll see you in the next one. I'll be putting the updates out for Michael Carter Williams and Aldridge news. Peace out, gang. Content tomorrow on a bigger Friday slate.